bringer. Kelly, how are you? We have first two podcasts. First, again, talking about self-care, next, nutrition and mental health for older adults. Now we're going to go into pregnancy. So this is going to be a great conversation. Kelly, thanks for stopping by again.
I am
Yes.
thrilled. I am so excited to learn from Dr. Allen today. So, just to give a brief little intro into Dr. Allen, Dr. Allen Lieberman, yes, Lieberman, I got it.
Lindemann.
Lindemann.
Lindelman.
You're
So thank,
forgiven.
thank you very much. Names are one of my, I like going by Dr. Allen. So, I'm just going to call you that. We've got it, right?
Yep, got it.
So you're known as the rural Doc Allen, and I love that because I just found out you're from North Dakota. Yes.
Yes.
And they were focused on empowering women to have safe, informed pregnancies. With years of maternal health care experience, you provide resources to support women in confident, personalized choices for pregnancy and childbirth. So thank you for coming on, Dr. Allen. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Kelly. Like I said, you've got a beautiful website. And yes, you really, really know how to talk about food.
I do. I do know how to talk about food. Yes.
But but you're asking me what I know about food. So I can tell you that, I've learned a lot from the 6,000 moms who've come to see me for their babies and their births. And, I've never had to give any mom IV hydration and never had to put in an NG tube. So everybody has been managed by just diet and activity through their pregnancy, no matter how difficult it seems to be. But I've learned some things from my moms, and I'll just tell you what I've learned. In the first place, I think it's really important to get, I call it a priming breakfast. It's a little breakfast that you eat while you're in bed. Put something beside your nightstand, some apple juice, orange juice, some crackers, granola bar, something that you like. Even sometimes they use potato chips and Coke. And if that's what works, that's fine. I don't care. Just as long as it stays down. So the next thing I say, wait for, say, 15, 20 minutes, and then get a big breakfast. And the big breakfast should include, it should be balanced. I've learned by listening to my moms that cold cereal, skim milk, and orange juice is not a very good breakfast for them. What works better is a little bit of protein, and of course, you were talking about the food police, and you said you don't want to talk about food police anymore. So I can remember the days of the food police.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to eat butter, you're not supposed to drink milk, you're not supposed to eat eggs and all that stuff. Anyway, so I'd say a balanced breakfast, an egg if you can handle an egg. If you really need to have cereal, make it oatmeal or cream of wheat. If you really, and milk should be at least 2%, if not whole. And avoid juice. Have an orange instead of orange juice. So that's their big breakfast. Then I say, let that settle for maybe 10, 15 minutes and then have your shower, because what happens if you shower before you eat, that just makes you more nauseated and you're likely to lose your blood pressure and faint in the shower. The other thing that's really important for moms is to not eat and drive. How many people will take a glass of milk or a banana or something that they can eat in the car? Don't do that, because there's a lot of morning sickness, motion sickness that's associated with morning sickness. So, and the other thing is, it's very simple. I say eat like a diabetic, maybe 4 little meals and then 3 big meals a day. Have a bedtime snack, something not really complicated, maybe a piece of cheese, an apple, or apple and cheese, something like that. So that's my pregnancy routine. And of course, gain about 2 pounds a month, maybe a little bit more.
So you've helped 6,000 women, you
Yep.
just said?
Yep. 6,000. It's been fun. I've had a really nice life, and I'm still, I've gathered a lot of information, so I can talk about experience for a long time.
Well, I've had two children, so I've been on the pregnancy side myself, and I did feel very fortunate. I didn't have horrible morning sickness, but I did have to change routine. I wasn't a big breakfast eater prior, and with pregnancy, my favorite go-to was peanut butter and whole grain toast.
There
Yeah,
you go.
it worked great, and having some almonds in my desk really was helpful. And so I learned just myself of what worked. But I was very serious about pregnancy. And I was, again, I was fortunate because I wasn't as sick and I did have a degree in nutrition. So I knew. But when I went into pregnancy, I said, nothing is going to be my fault. I'm going to ensure that I get the best start to these children's lives. And, it was really, really important to me to give them the best nutrition while they were there. And then as babies and then coming out. But I think that I would love to help you in any way I can to help educate the women that you serve, and any way we can help, like we were saying, like a blog or anything. Happy to
Yeah.
help.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
part
thank
of
you.
what you're doing with helping pregnant women in need. Explain that.
Well, yes, this sounds just perfect, to have a blog, and we need to talk about exactly how that would work. But I think that certainly eating, you've got the right idea. What you had there with your peanut butter was protein and fat, and of course carbs. But you had actually quite a well-balanced breakfast. So whatever it takes to have a well-balanced breakfast. I always say that, what happens with blood sugar in pregnancy, in the first half of pregnancy, it's low. And the second half, your blood sugar is high. That's when people with diabetes notice they have diabetes. But the low blood pressure sugar is responsible for the nausea. So you need things that will keep your sugar elevated. And you did exactly the right thing with the protein and the fat. So I'd say congratulations. You fixed it yourself. So now working together, it sounds great. I'm honored and flattered. And I can see some of the things that you've done. You've got these events. It looked like you were in Minneapolis, because
Yes, I was.
I could see 35E and 35W. So I figured that's Minneapolis.
It
Yeah.
was. It was. We had a great time at our Food Nutrition Expo out there. And that's each year our dietitians get together from all over the country for our Food Nutrition Expo. It's called Fancy. And there was about 6,000 dietitians in Minneapolis. So it was really fun to be out there, do a little TV while we were there, and beautiful, beautiful city.
Now, Kelly, a big thing, kind of talking about Safe Pregnancies Foundation, because I am on the board, is ultimately what they do. We help pregnant women in need. We're focusing on education, all types of different education. So the foundation provides all the different information, plus also being able to work with doc on consult basis, but really looks at specifically things that they have questions on, they're looking for. And that's what really the foundation's all about, what World Doc and his wife, Diane, are doing together. So that's where I see you help in some way, especially with your mission, and definitely adding that nutrition component to looking at it. So what are your thoughts, Kelly, when you talk about pregnant women? Doc gave his specific ways he does, but as a dietitian, what areas do you think sometimes pregnant women are lacking when it comes to pregnancy?
I'm glad you asked that because I was very lucky. I got to see this presentation years and years ago. It was actually out in Rochester, New York, and it was a physician that was having their clients walk after meals that were dealing with the high blood sugar, like in the second and third trimester. And it was unbelievable how they were able to control that blood sugar, because with walking after meals, they could lower about 30 to 40 points. And it just was like aha moment. And I ended up using that information with my other clients as well. But I think that movement, because you are getting bigger, it is uncomfortable. And I'm glad I've gone through pregnancies to understand what that pressure feels like, the weight feels like. But just getting up and moving after those meals can really make such a difference in the way they feel and their blood sugar levels, and just keeping your body moving.
Well, you're absolutely right. You can walk down your blood sugar. As a matter of fact, that's very, very well known. For people who are controlled, who have their blood sugars controlled when they're not active, they actually sometimes have their blood sugar turn too low when when they try to be active. So you always have to warn them that the sugar has to be high enough that they'll tolerate the walk. But yeah, walking off the sugar is a really wonderful piece of advice.
And I think just that not everything is going to go smoothly. I guess I'm sharing this for the first time on podcast, my first day of podcast, but I fell during my first pregnancy. I was at a work conference. I fell and I tore my placenta, which I never knew was a thing. Never in a million years had heard about that, talked about that. And I was put on bed rest, which we just talked about aging and the loneliness, the isolation of it. It was really difficult. I had to keep up hydration and still kind of deal with that. And I think even though I said I wanted the best start for my kids and eating really healthy, um, I didn't have control over that. It happened. And I think maybe getting real with females too, they say like things will happen, and maybe to have that support system that it's okay. It's okay. We can get through this with your doctor support, with dietitian, with females coming in, that we really can share stories about what's.
Well, yes, yeah, I can imagine that for you, having to go to on bed rest would be a problem because you're active.
Yeah.
And today we don't do that anymore anyway. I mean, there's very few reasons to do bed rest, and there's about 20 reasons to not do bed rest, and most of them have to do with blood clots.
Mm.
So we don't.
Well, I may not have followed the doctor's rules completely because I couldn't
Good.
sit down. So, as you can probably tell, but it was really scary, and to be able to have someone to talk to about that, I was really glad I had a great doctor. But it's a very scary time. Pregnancy is a very unknown and scary time.
So there's not a one size fits all, Kelly, when it comes
So
to, for
just
again, it's
like
just like everything else we've talked about so far.
like everything else, I think what the doctor is saying, which is very important, is the balance. And when we talk about balance, we talk about, like you just said, the protein, the fat, and the carbohydrate coming together at each meal, making sure that we're getting all of that. I have seen, in my years of doing counseling, just women just wanting to eat the simple carbohydrates. And that is not giving the body what it needs. And that's going to fluctuate those blood glucose levels even more. So it's not helping them in the short time. It feels like it's satisfying, but it actually is going to kick back just half an hour later.
Well, you're right. That's exactly right. That's why I don't have always recommended against the cold cereal and skim milk for breakfast, because you're going to get nauseated about half an hour after you eat that because your blood sugar will drop.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And so Doc, what are anything else to think about when you think about pregnant women and nutrition, what they put in their bodies?
Well, I think that we said what's really important to say, and that is we should have the right amounts of protein, fat, and carbs. And I think that would be the message I would leave. I think that's, we can't say too much about that. I mean, you could talk about it for hours or days. So I'd say congratulations. You've done a great job there with your food.
I would say the same back, sir. I think,
You
we're both helping people. That is our line of work. And, I think right now food is so expensive that I'm trying as much as possible. And I will be educating my dietitians on this too, that when they are doing private consulting work, that we're conscious of that. I think sometimes it goes missed because we're just really trying to get good nutrition, but we do need to be conscious of budgets. And there are a lot of ways that you can eat healthfully on a budget.
You know, what I noticed about your food was presentation. You obviously know how to present food. I got hungry just looking at your site.
So a lot of the food that you see on the site, we actually made at our friend's house, and that was part of a photo shoot. So it's not fake food. We actually made all of that, it was really fun. We had a fun day. It was great. We got to eat all of it afterwards and open some
And
bottles of wine. It was great.
Well, I was just thinking about those little heart-shaped dishes with all the raspberries and the kiwi and um, I don't know, maybe some pineapple in there. That's one of my favorite fruits is pineapple. But
wow. You know
Yeah.
what's interesting that we've been talking mostly about diet or what pregnant women should eat. But again, the mental health piece. Kelly, you were explaining on another podcast, but to kind of go further, that the modality of what you do as a dietitian is not just related to food, it's related to multiple aspects. And that's where Doc can talk more about the mental health aspect, but can go a little bit deeper into that, Kelly.
Well, I think it's a perfect time to talk about nutrition and mental health because you also are supplying the child with what's necessary. And we now know the brain gut connection and our ability to make serotonin in our neurotransmitters. So, without the proper amount of protein and fiber rich sources, you can't make the neurotransmitters that you need to keep your brain healthy and happy. And once we can educate on that little nugget of information, I think it makes it easier for people to follow the guidelines and to try to get more protein and fiber. I think dietitians in the past, and I don't know if you agree with this too, like you just said, food police, it was more food police, if you want to say that word. And it wasn't saying why we're saying to do what to do. And so I'd love to change that message. And once we have the why, we're more likely to follow suit. So I'm sure you do that with all of the amazing women that you've seen. And I'm trying to educate on the dietitians to do the same. Don't just say eat a fruit and vegetable. Why are we doing it? What is it going to do for you and your baby? How is it going to affect your mental health? How is it going to affect your blood sugar? And I think when they have the why, they're more likely to put it into practice.
what you're talking about is actually something that I talked to a surgeon at the University of Minnesota about this patient partnerships.
Mm.
That's really what you're talking about. You have to convince people, you have to form a partnership with every single person. When you do that, they'll be happy to take your advice and they'll be happy to incorporate it into their lives and benefit from it.
I agree. I was on a call earlier today and it was about getting contracts, but the guy said, if you don't have a relationship, you're not going to get one. And I
Right.
think the same is with everything in life. If you don't build a relationship, it's not going to go anywhere. If you're just handing out information, you haven't built that relationship.
Well, the relationship is I mean, it comes before trust. Trust is hard to get and it's easy to lose. You know, we have to be aware of how we gain it and how we lose it. But yeah, partnerships work very well. I have to tell you that from my point of view, I discovered that about 40 years ago, that is to have partnerships because I could give my moms an assignment and they would do it. In other words, they would follow my advice, but only, I mean, they'd follow it better if we were friends, if we were partners. So I think that's really one of the reasons that I had 6,000 moms with no death.
Hmm,
They took care of themselves.
right. Well, they had someone to support them and care about
Yeah,
them.
and that's part of this show is education,
Yeah.
Kelly, in so many ways, for sure. Doc, any more thoughts, mental health wise, of pregnant women? What types of things do they do to keep themselves healthy throughout that time? Not just talking about diet.
Well, you're absolutely right. Mental health is really important. I think, you know, it's I think the most important part of mental health is when you go home, that you have a relationship with somebody who's also part of it. One of the things I did with my moms, I always invited their husbands along and their children. They had everybody came in. And that way you make a family. And so that it's not a matter of walking the plank after you deliver. It's a matter of getting ready and knowing how to do it when you go home.
Yeah, no, and 20 years ago, no one explained that. So I
It's
think,
really
yeah.
it's that is really important. As a matter of fact, in my book, I have a little dialogue I've made up about what happens if you do plan go for going home and what happens if you don't plan. There's a whole bunch of just simple things like ground rules, like who takes care of the baby when, who
Mhm.
gets sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning and who has to feed the baby and who washes the toilet and who gets the groceries. All those things, if they don't work, postpartum is really complicated.
Agree. I'm divorced. So remarried now, everything's great, great. But no, it really, you are correct. And mental health wise, it's interesting to be thrown into that with children. So a game plan is a very smart thing to do.
All right.
Yep.
Well, this is a great conversation, Kelly. Anything you else to add regarding what, like, I guess, lifestyle when it comes to being pregnant?
I think just do all the things you want to do. Be happy. Get out there, see the sun. It is a fun time to eat some foods. I gotta say, there was this great ice cream store on the way, always home, and it was fun to get a milkshake once in a while. And so that's why I think there should be moderation. Enjoy being pregnant. Enjoy the different changes in the feel. It really was a very, very special time.
Well,
All right.
I'd say enjoy your milkshake. I certainly have enjoyed mine.
All right. Best place people can go for Doc is go to royaldocallen.com and pick up Pregnancy Away, Your Way. It's available on Amazon. And Kelly, the best place people can go find info on you.
kellyschoice.org and Instagram at kellyschoice_nutrition.
All right. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show. And